This is the Body Wise podcast. Thank you for joining Laura and Christina for another intimate exploration of collective wisdom.
Welcome back to another episode of Body Wise podcast. I am your hostess, Christina Kerp from the Castaway Kitchen, and I'm really excited about today's interview. Before we get going, I want to remind you to please subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you're listening from, iTunes, Stitcher, etc., and make sure to leave a review. Reviews are super duper important for podcasts, and if you love this one, leave a review. So today's guest, Michael, is an Insta friend that I made last year when I found his amazing card game, Actually Curious. And we started talking because, again, I love what he was doing. Essentially, it's like the opposite of Cards Against Humanity. It's like Cards for Humanity. Michael has a very impressive bio, so I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess it up. So here we go. Michael Tennant is the founder and CEO of Curiosity Lab, a firm that helps organizations build community around their brands by clearly articulating their purpose and bringing it to life through content, partnerships, and experiences. In his role, Michael helps value-aligned organizations grow by providing short-term and long-term growth, consulting in areas of brand, content, and partnership strategy. In 2018, he created a viral deep conversation card game called Actually Curious, which is designed to bring people close and spread tools for empathy. And it's been featured in New York Times, Beyonce's Black Parade list, Goop, The Today Show, and more. Amazing. Most recently, Michael has served as the head of branded content in the US for PhD Media, where he helped the agency win Ad Age's 2017 Media Agency of the Year, leading content strategy and the execution for brands like Google and Delta Airlines and the Volkswagen portfolio. Prior to that, he led branded content for Coca-Cola and various brands in the P&G portfolio. Michael began his career in youth entertainment and held various content marketing and brand partnership roles for MTV and Vice. Very rad. In January of 2021, Michael accepted the position of entrepreneur in residence at Arnold and Havas, where he will conduct cultural workshops with leaders and employees with a focus on empathy, collaboration, and communication. By applying Curiosity Lab's proprietary processes and workshops, Tennant will leverage his expertise in empathy to help enable the people of Arnold and Havas Media to create even more effective and inclusive work for clients. Michael's long-term ambition is to build thriving integrated products, media, and business and services business from communities of color and intended to unite the world. Amazing. I love all of it. And as someone who also used to work in advertising, I think that it's amazing. Again, from the inside out, it's incredible how much advertising has an impact on our society and our trends and our culture. So it's amazing. He's like making the change from the inside. So let's get to this interview. Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. When I found Actually Curious last year, I was so excited, and I got the deck, and it's such a beautiful thing that you've created with the Curiosity Lab. So I cannot wait to learn more about it and more about your story. And so your background, as we know from your bio, which is really cool. I was like, this is so impressive. Oh my gosh. Is that you have this really heavy advertising background, and now you're in this amazing empathy work. So tell us about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, I started off my career in media at MTV and then at Vice, and then I moved my way into advertising, working with brands like Procter & Gamble and Coca-Cola and Google. And let me tell you, like going through that whole process, I have a lot of really great stories. I was a totally different person. I was a young 20-something, like hustling, like trying to make it in New York City. But it was really stressful. And there was, what I've come to realize is like I built up a lot of toxic work habits, from like the benign, which are things like overworking, or even in our culture, like drinking is more benign than some other things, to other things that were more toxic. And but yeah, I think advertising is kind of really, it's made me like someone who can come up with great ideas that connect with people, but also is something that I've been almost like healing from in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did a small stint in the advertising world myself. I interned in an ad agency when I was in my senior year in college, and I was a finalist for the MAPE internship, the multicultural. Yeah. But I ended up pivoting into the restaurant business because I think I felt that early on. Like it can be a very toxic work environment. It can be very draining. And you almost feel like you're feeding into this like consumerism machine, right? That's like, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know. It can be, there can be a lot of struggle there. So
Yeah, I love that you said that because in many ways, like we feel very much the same way. I love that you shared with me that you have Cuban blood. Like I have Jamaican blood, so I have revolutionary blood in like running through me, and I simultaneously feel disconnected from consumerism, but I'm also very practical about capitalism, and so we almost like try to take consumerist trends and then like get into the beast and use it like to make change.
yeah, absolutely. And when you think about like, I love that you're kind of with making the change from within, right? And you think of like people think, oh, just advertising, you make commercials. I'm like, advertising is such a huge, I mean, it's this multi-billion-dollar industry and it really leads, like shapes the way Americans view things, like people, the trends, like, you know, patterns that we see. It has a huge influence on people. Do you see that in advertising? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about it a lot about even just like how advertising plays off of insecurities
Mm,
uh, and for folks, or even the mere fact that many of the things that we buy or that convert themselves to a need in our minds are really things that we don't need, or even worse, the things that are bad for. But at the same time, you know, and this is something that I've been trying to work through.
mm,
You know, you mentioned MAPE, for example. MAPE is an organization that helps people of color to have mentorship and to potentially, you know, have a support system, a safe space and support system within advertising to advance because it hires its job creation for it's pretty recession proof even. You know, everyone's got to sell stuff, so
right.
I guess you know, it's just kind of funny when you think about just like the double-edged sword of capitalism. Even when you think about Cuba, for example,
Right.
and like being like socialist, or when I was young, I wrote a paper after visiting Jamaica about you know, about an aunt who worked for a jockey plant that hired a lot of people in a pretty poor village, and there was this like catch 22 where I'm this liberal American learning about globalization, and I'm like damning like the wages as compared to our standards, but they people would like fight each other for that job. You know what I
Right.
mean? But she lost her life because she fell and there wasn't appropriate like health care, and she like had bleeding in her like her brain that wasn't diagnosed. There's like, you know, there's this thing where it's like I don't know, it's kind of it's there's no one viewpoint,
Right.
um, which uh, which is largely what Actually Curious is about, is being willing to ask questions enough that you're willing to see that your perspective may be skewed, or like, you know, there's merit in other people's perspective a
Yeah.
bit.
Absolutely. I think empathy, you know, is lacking in a lot of, it's like a deficit. There's a deficit of empathy at the moment. People are not able to step into other people's shoes and think like, you know, what are they going through in that moment? So you mentioned when you were in advertising, it was kind of like this, like there was some anxiety there, like the work itself, like that, the culture was toxic. So tell us about that. Like, you know, has that kind of feeling that anxiety and dealing with, you know, mental health, has that impacted your work with the Curiosity Lab?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I'm like, where to come at it. Well, I guess I never even really. First of all, I didn't know myself the way that I know myself now, and um, there are things about my work style that can also make me a bit of an odd duck sometimes in a corporate environment, especially as you're moving up the ladder. This I know now. I'm a lot more energized by conceptual work, and when you're working your way up, you're a lot more focused on like organization and that sort of stuff. But Yeah, I mean, it was just like competitive. There were times where we're all trying to strive, and not only would we like maybe willingly pit ourselves against one another, but at times like this culture of like, well, I did that to pay my dues. Like people would pit other people against one another. Um, I think the a lot of what I experienced, and I guess this is where my ultimate like frustration came from a strategic standpoint, was work that felt knee jerk, work that didn't feel really grounded in a long term strategic vision, and then later on work that didn't seem grounded in being additive to the lives and like really serving from a purposeful place the consumers. So that's a lot to unpack. It's like interpersonal stuff. There's like topic like kind of this happened to me, kind of treat you like this, or even when looking at it now with more compassion in the past, like I actually just kind of think about these bosses and what they had to do to get to where they were, and I'm just like, just because I think so much more about like not holding on to that grudge, that like fury that I used to have actually, I go like, they're probably just acting out like it's just like the energy that was acted upon them, and they're kind of acting it out. And I just really hope that they get that out and they can heal from it, because I'm letting that go. And I'm trying to build an organization where I'm willing to look at myself. And I know I'm not perfect. Like I worked at Vice and it was cutthroat, and people told me like, you know, made me like re-examine some of my values and even change them, bend them for a while. Um, but I'm trying to build an organization where if I realize I'm doing that because I'm not perfect, then I'm willing to hear about it. I'm trying to, be willing to create a safe arena where we can even like I can get uncomfortable in meetings and I can be willing to share. Other people can too, and be willing to share with me. And I honor where they're at as humans, and where they're going as like people who I believed in to work with to begin with, and like whether it's together or apart, like I still do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And even being able to say, like, look at your old bosses who are mean and say, like, they were probably going through something that's again takes a deep level of empathy to get there and to feel that and to be and to bring that awareness and that self-awareness. So that's at the root, like empathy is at the root of what you do with Actually Curious. And you have a mission to a 1% movement, to get 1% of the population, like you're pledging to spread empathy and advocate for human rights. Tell me about that work.
So the We Claim 1% movement is actually kind of following a little bit in the background. It's still like the underpinning strategy around everything we're doing for the year and probably for a while. It's like it's a really brilliant strategy in the sense that the way what it's, and I don't normally talk about myself in that way, but apparently I'm confident and modest, but today not as modest, according to Mr. Deason, who I was just on the phone with. But what it is a pledge or an attempt to get organizations, individuals like yourself, Christina, people with, or individuals just like everyday people, just everyone, to get 1 million people to pledge to use their platforms to advocate for empathy and human rights.
Right.
And what it does for us is it helps center us. So we talked about capitalism earlier. So we looked at the year, we know sometimes we will scoff at it, like almost trite holiday or whatever. We dissected them all. We identified the ones that mean something and mean something to us and that align with empathy and human rights. And we basically know that in that moment, it's not going to just be about Earth Day, for example, that's coming up. It's going to be about intersectional environmentalism. What is it like to think about Earth Day through the lens of, Black and brown, or Africa and diaspora, but further than that, what does it look like to think about environmentalism in terms of ableism and accessibility or homelessness? And let's get into the arena and talk about like the privilege that enables this in some way, because it's important for us to address that.
Right.
And make it accessible and really get a critical mass of people. But sorry, I went on a train of thought.
It's cool. I love it. I think, again, it's about I think with Earth Day, you mentioned coming up and looking at these kind of trite holidays and the way people like share and just the focus that people put on things. And I think what you're getting at is like getting 1 million people to pledge to use their platform for good, right? And like, and then changing the way we do things. So, you know, it's big for people with, of course, with platforms. You look at holidays, right? Mother's Day, Earth Day. How are we going to talk about these things? Not just saying Earth Day and sharing like I recycle or my like, you know, my bamboo straws. Like, okay, that you know, like that's not that what like changing those conversations so they're actually affecting change and so they are intersectional, which I think is really important. Because I don't you see people struggling with that lately, especially the younger generations, like especially on TikTok. I see so many young people just really exploring this intersectionality of like, you know, am I white passing, but my dad's Arab. So then when I tan, I look darker. And then am I white or am I brown? And then people being like, well, you know, if you're Latino, but you're black, are you black? You know, just really because people are so curious now of like finding like the right terms to express themselves and what's proper and what's, you know, and it's kind of beautiful when you think about it. But I think that there needs to be leaders in this helping people, you know, along the way with these conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what this game means to do, and that's what this movement means to do. As we get into it, it's kind of like this like this rabbit hole. It started as like an idea on helping people recognize their bias.
yeah.
And then it was like this campaign that yielded this game. It wasn't even, we didn't set out to create a game, right? But now we have a really vibrant workshop and consulting business where we're helping organizations to foster a culture that embraces empathy and inclusivity, by helping them to have the tools to create to have leaders who know how to foster and protect and maintain safe spaces for these difficult conversations.
Right.
Because even as we're diving into building out the Human Rights Edition, and we brought in thought leaders, we brought in, most people are representative of some underrepresented group or what have you, and our core team, project manager, et cetera, we're all pretty diverse. And as we're going through it, like we're having a hard time. We're having a hard time. It's difficult. It's difficult to stay in the arena to a point where that's what we're like, okay, that needs to be a key point. Is like, you know, do this work by yourself, do this work with people you trust. Don't just jump into this deck. We've created other decks for you to warm up to this with. But, you know, if you do choose to encounter the Human Rights Edition, then just like, if you stay in the arena, like you're pretty good. You might cry, you know, you might feel some shame. And then if we're trying to set up, like basically we've been doing a ton of workshops with organizations in academia, in K-12, in for-profit. The Arnold Vox partnership is all about incubating that. It started off with them having like, hey, how do we sell something together? And it's now, how do we give these tools to our community so that we have a unique culture ourselves within the landscape of advertising, in that we embrace the willingness to change and to confront the difficult feelings that come with changing systems.
Yeah. And you mentioned something earlier, which I think is so key in all of this, which is understanding or realizing our own biases, right? And I think that's probably one of the biggest roadblocks in change, is people being like, well, thinking that they don't even have these biases. And so the original game was created, and these questions, right, to uncover them. What are, you know, can you kind of go into that a little bit? Like, what were some of the questions or the tools, or what are some of those biases that you feel like are often prevalent?
Well, for one, being comfortable being vulnerable in front of strangers, or even one another, or even oneself, when you really get down to it. You know, being willing to, in a traditional sense, not look good. So like, maybe be wrong or not be right or not be affirming to one's ego, particularly if we don't have that level of just really deeply ingrained self-confidence. And I'm saying this as a person who's all of these things, not as someone who feels like, you know, I'm not pointing a finger. This is me. But I think the way you ask a question, you're asking like, okay, I think in terms of, okay, bias, right? So when we started thinking about it, you know, really quite frankly, the idea was the closer you are to the more dominant paradigm in our society, which just for the sake of hopefully I'm not offending anyone, I might, but in this country is a affluent, educated white male,
Right.
with education, like that education. You could go further into nuancing that as well, because there's like other things.
And don't worry, you're not offending anyone. My audience is, well, that they know. we had very, very heated and honest conversations. Yeah, I'm sure the people who we've offended have unfollowed a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean into that these days. I'll be like, unfollow me if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess privilege and even talking about race, period. They're just topics that shouldn't be taboo that are. Like in a workshop, someone who's really well intended, and also really progressive. He identifies as several underrepresented groups. He identifies as he. He said, like, you know, we don't normally, especially at work, get into these taboo topics like race and religion. And in the role I was playing at that time, I was like, I gave a little more reaction than I typically do as a facilitator. I was like, those are taboo topics? And then I kind of moved on. But like, you know, race and religion, like most people, okay, here's the thing, is religion's ingrained into our societal systems. Like you pledge allegiance, and even in popular culture, so even if you grow up in an agnostic home, you have no choice but to have some exposure. Like even the way that, like our pop culture calendar, like freaking Christmas, Easter, you know what I mean? So so the idea, and I think this is what we try to do with Curiosity Lab, is like, let's question these things that we say, or at least just even start getting playful about being willing to be like, oh, but is that true though? Yourself. I don't know why I had to say it in a British accent.
It felt right.
But yeah, I mean, race and religion, presumably just because it really touches almost like total population in America, at least in some way, should not be taboo topics.
Right. People should, and they are uncomfortable, but just because a conversation is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's taboo. I mean, and even sex, let's say, I feel like in this country, it's such a thing, like talking even about sex is so taboo. And it's so like everything is, you know, it's like, why is it bad? I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if people obviously reproduce, there's humans continue to exist. But it's interesting that's, and again, I think that rolls into the religion aspect, right? Which is why, you know, even talking about sex is taboo because of religion, right?
You're in Texas, right? Is that right?
No, I am from Florida, but I'm living in Virginia right now. So I'm outside of DC in Alexandria.
Okay. All right. Right on. DMV in the house.
Yep. I've been here 3 years, and then we're headed back to Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing.
And where's Florida? Where are you from?
I'm born and raised in Miami, which is where all the Cuban people are.
Oh, yeah, totally. Silly. Duh.
Yeah. Yes. Which again is, and there's a whole other thing culturally speaking. I mean, there are so many things that even being Latina, like we're taboo, or my family didn't talk about, or things that there was a lot of importance put on certain things, which my sister and I, you know, my generation, were trying to break that, like those, you know, those habits, those things, because again, it's kind of growing up in a sexist culture, you know, where it was very normal for the women to be kind of subservient to the men. Like they do the dinner, they do the cleaning, like the husband sits with like his cocktail or drinks his beer, and it's like, that doesn't work, you know. But having those conversations, not only with each other, people who agree with you, but those who don't, right? But I love the game. And so you have several, so you have 3 decks so far. Your 4th deck is coming out May 31st. It is a Human Rights Edition deck coming out May 31st, memorializing George Floyd. which I think is, as we await the trial to end and see what happens with that. But I think that even just, this past Sunday, I mean, with Daunte Wright's murder, it's just like, it's like, when does it end? And I think these conversations need to continue to happen, and people need to continue to explore these biases, because I think a big part of what's perpetuating the systemic racism is mostly white people being incapable, unaware, or unwilling to explore their own biases and living in that like denial, whether it's willful or it's conscious or unconscious. It's a denial of like existing biases. So tell me a little bit. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's just when you said when will it end, like in my mind I was like, when did it begin?
Right.
Because like if you really like go back through our documented Western history, it's almost like ingrained in, even depending on where you feel about religion. I mean, I'll just say my place in religion, I kind of grew up in it. I respect that people get some truth, comfort, moral guidance through religion. I don't scoff at religion. I'm somewhere like transient on my and exploratory on my own feelings. But even in religious doctrine, there's like violence at the beginning, and it's sort of like, why is that? Why? How about this? Like, it's almost like the idea of imagining a violence less, win-loss less, an abundant and compassionate existence is like almost really hard to do.
Right.
So it almost starts with like, can we get to a place where we accept enough that has been our history, and be like, where do you fall on that from a moral standpoint? Do you want to perpetuate that or not? And like, can you imagine? Then it gets all the way to swinging to, can you imagine? Can you talk about? Can we postulate? Can we build community around a possible reality that this could not be the way we treat one another?
Absolutely. It is since the beginning. I mean, when you think about the worst things that men have been done in the name of God. I mean, when you think of colonialism, the Crusades, just essentially seeing any population, mostly of brown and black people, who don't believe in the Christian God or Catholic, right, being just labeled savages and less than human, and I mean, populations wiped out and controlled, and it's such a long, right? Like you said, like it's so long and so deep and so grand and so ingrained in so much of our culture that for people to be like, stop and say all that was wrong. So, right, how do people stop to say everything we know thus far has been wrong? We have to do it another way. And do you think that people are capable of accepting that, acknowledging that, and changing?
Well, I'm like, I want to say like yeah.
Cautious optimism.
Yeah. This is what I try to tell myself every day, and I think that's the work in a way. It's like, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. And then trying to connect the dots, or just like connect a dot. Right. I feel like if everyone can just like connect a dot today.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, connection, right? It's at the center of, I think, the answer, or at least of the antidote to some of what ails humanity is, it's so easy for people to hate a group, but it's very hard for someone to hate a person that they actually know, without that person that wronged them directly. And that's what I love what you do, because you're kind of bringing that, like, well, let's get to know each other, like everybody. Let's really get to see each other as individual beings. I'd love to ask you some questions from a deck. Is that okay? I think that'd be so fun. I played this with my sisters and my mom in last summer, and we just had such a good time. And it's such a thought-provoking game. Like,
well, you couldn't play that deck with them, because that deck only came out this last holiday.
No, not this deck, the original, like the white one. I have the white one, and then actually I think I have the white one and the light blue and the one.
Oh, you don't have the pink one?
No,
magenta.
I don't have that one. I have the white one, and then I have this one. Okay. Ooh, these are fun. Okay. I just make these randomly.
I don't play this deck a lot, so it's really good.
Okay. If you could star in any reality TV show, which would it be?
I have to say either The Real World, or MXC. Although I couldn't compete in MXC, but I wish I could.
The Real World does that still like a thing? Does it still exist?
I can't tell if it's because I dream weird shit sometimes like this. If they're bringing back The Real World and casting for it,
Or if you dreamt it?
or if I dreamt it.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one, because ever since I was a kid, I would have these very vivid memories, and my family would be like, "That didn't happen." I'm like, "No, but it did." And it was like so realistic, and then apparently, yeah. Well, that's good. Okay, what's one magazine you always buy at the airport?
Ink. I bought an Ink recently, or like an Entrepreneur or
Okay,
an Economist.
okay. Hold on, but like entrepreneur, economist, and ink. So you into is ink for tattoos?
No, INC.
Oh, I was like, one thing is not like the others. That's funny.
Yeah, no, they're exactly like that.
Okay. I'm like, that makes a little more sense. I was like, I'm like, he takes off his shirt and there's a sleeve of tattoos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just wearing makeup covering up my face tattoos.
It's very convincing. Okay. What's your favorite movie soundtrack?
Ooh. Oh man, I don't know why like Titanic popped in my mind, because that is not the answer. It would be I would say probably like the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack,
Okay.
or the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack.
Ooh, Waiting to Exhale soundtrack's a good one. You know what's a super sleeper good soundtrack is The Girl Next Door. Have you ever seen that? Remember the one? It's like, it wasn't a super popular movie from like the 2000s, but it was like the teenage boy who had like the porn star who lived next door, but then like they fell in love. Anyway, awesome soundtrack. Like, and also Practical Magic, but anyways, that's just
Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
The Girl Next Door. It's like surprisingly good and like uplifting, kind of, you know, like you when you like it's like the kind of soundtrack you get like you feel good, like windows down music. It's good. All right. What's the most amazing piece of technology that has been invented in your lifetime?
Ooh, shameless plug. Empathy,
Okay. Yeah.
because it really is like a game changer in terms of like communication, and with yourself and with others.
Yeah. Awesome. What's the most memorable book or story from your childhood?
Ooh, this question brings me shame, because I just, you know what it is. I'll tell you the exact thing that gives me shame. It's like I always have this like vision in my head where like they're like these white kids who have like their parents gave them these classic books, and then I'll be in these conversations and they'll all be like, "Oh yeah, you didn't read that? Like where the wild things are?" Was the first time I realized that this was a thing, that
Right.
like I read the same book. Okay, so getting over that. Favorite book from my childhood. Well, I'll say favorite magazine from my childhood is like Scholastic or like Highlight,
Yeah.
and favorite books. I was really proud of myself that I got into like Goosebumps and the Boxcar Children for a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, those are all good. I mean, where the wild things are, I know it's like really highly decorated and all that. And I mean, like, I have some nostalgia with that book, but my son, who's an avid reader, Jack turns 8 tomorrow, actually, he hates that book. He's like, it's a stupid story. He's like, nothing happens. He doesn't even like it.
I love the movie.
Yeah. He's actually the book that we read a lot now is he loves Shel Silverstein. And I mean, I love, of course, The Giving Tree, because it's like, you know, obviously it's fake, but it's I cry every time I read it. But where the Sidewalk Ends, which is a collection of poems, but they're like really imaginative, weird, funky, you know, almost like nonsensical in a way poems. Just he loves those and he reads those, and I think it's great for, you know, it's a good, him reading poetry is like a good
What was the
contrast
last
to
one?
Where the Sidewalk Ends. Yeah, by Shel Silverstein as well. But yeah.
I can't wait to just kind of go through childhood a little bit through the eyes of my children when I
Yeah.
have them.
It's beautiful. It's weird because parenting is, I think it's in a strange way cathartic, and it also brings up a lot of guilt, you know, of like, because they will always do what you do, not do what you say, and then sometimes you see the pieces of yourself that you get mad at them for them being like you in ways that you don't like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
It's tough. Parent, it's a whole thing, but it's beautiful. And it goes, everyone's so cliche, like it goes by fast, enjoy it. And then you're like, oh, this is hard. I'm not enjoying any of it. But then it does go by fast. I can't believe he's 8. Anyway. Okay. Last question from the deck. Anything can be art. Describe the most beloved piece in your home right now and why it's important to you.
Oh man, I do gratitude practices all the time. So I'm looking around the room like, oh, that's really nice in my life. That's nice in my life. Really hard to pick one piece that, but I guess the two things while scanning this room that bring me the most joy these days are this mug that my wife gave me for Christmas.
That's a beautiful mug.
I love that it's a part of my morning routine because I'm pretty particular about being alone in my morning routine, but it connects us. And I hand wash it all the time. I never put it in the dishwasher, and I really love it. And then I guess like I love my yoga mat, which I haven't done yoga in so long, I missed it, but I do a meditation on it. With like my little incense and the whole thing. I got this whole crazy morning routine. Awesome. But those two things, I think, just, I don't know, just like simple things.
That's awesome. That mug is amazing. And I saw it when you first drank from it. I'm like, I want this mug. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm low-key flexing with the mug.
It is awesome. I am a mug hoarder, and my husband is like, every time I bring a new mug home, he's like, stop it. He's like, we don't have it. I'm telling you, I'm a mug. And then I go through phases where like I use the same mug every day for like months, but then it's like, then I move on to another new favorite mug. It's a whole thing. But anyways, I love mugs. Your mug is definitely.
If you're ever looking to just stack the deck with like a little, like, you know, you're gonna get affirmed in your obsession, just send me like a text with like whatever it means to you, and I'm gonna just like love on that decision.
Thank you. I will do it. Sounds good. I get shamed for my mugs here.
Wait, do you do a thing where like you do like a Marie Kondo style where you bring one, you get one, you lose one, and let it like travel on?
Okay, so I have clean. I did just give my sister just got married, and her and her wife are like farmers and pretty broke because they're farmers. And so they're going to herbalism school, and they came through here, and I gave them a bunch of stuff, and I did give them some of my mugs, but I still have a lot.
Oh my God, get this. So this is what I do. I'm glad it takes like conversations like this. But this is like the ultimate like kind of mashup experiential idea. I don't even need to be there. Like, so, and maybe if you do something like this, at least just send me a picture and tag me.
Okay.
This could be like this very like cathartic, I can't say the word, cathartic, can you help me? Cathartic thing that is a mashup of like this conversation and your brand. So actually, the way this card game came to be, we did as an icebreaker an event with Oatly, the Swedish oat milk brand that we produced to help build bridges between thought leaders and social justice. We created these thought starters and put them on the tables, and they were literally like maybe 14 of cards like this, totally different questions, and we put them on the table. At the beginning of the event, to have like everything be this like connecting thought starters kind of thing, we collected all of these mugs from all around LA, from Salvation Army and stuff like that, and everyone had to pick a mug when they walked in, and that was their souvenir when they left. And like, you know, it was like a conversation starter when they got coffee, because Oatly sponsored it. When they got coffee in their mug, they'd explain why they picked the one that they picked. So that could be a move if you're ever like trying to just like create a moment, like a little dinner party moment. Yeah. You could use Actually Curious in the dinner party moment.
Yes.
And you can shed some of the mugs by having people pick the mug that speaks to them.
That's a great idea. I am going to do that. That's amazing. Once I can have people in my house again. Once dinner parties are back, but that's awesome. I think that's and I do love like serving things in mugs. Like I'm a huge fan of like soup in mugs or like mug cakes. And like, you know, I love eating out of mugs as well. It's just a thing. It's so great, right? I'm going to use that. Thank you so much, Michael. Amazing. Okay. Well, I know you have a call at 3, so I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for hanging out with us today and for telling the story and answering your questions. And I love your tangents and everything we've covered. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. Please visit us at www.actuallycurious.com. Please search for us on Instagram and LinkedIn, Actually Curious. And we mentioned the We Claim 1% movement, particularly if you are a brand or a storyteller or even a shop or just someone who's willing to ideate with us on ways to amplify that movement. Go to WeClaim1%.com and sign that pledge. Also, a little gift. Man, there's too many call to actions. I should not be giving this many call to actions. But nonetheless, a gift to your community. We just launched a tool. If you haven't done it yet, Christina, you should do it. Yeah. It's a free tool that we launched. It's been my guiding post through like some of the toughest times. It's the thing that helped us create Actually Curious. And it's a values exercise. And you can go there and do it for free at valuesexercise.com.
Okay. Values exercise.
The ecosystem of Curiosity Lab and Actually Curious, and really our whole goal is to help people become more connected to themselves and to use that awareness and that confidence and willingness to confront like our biases and improve, use that to help create space for healing.
Beautiful. And improve the world and human rights and the quality of life of people. And I think it's such it's such heart-centered work. I love what you do and how you do it. And it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And those listening who have companies, and I know some of y'all do, like, hello, Curiosity Lab workshops for your business, do it, right? Awesome. Well, thank you.
Strategic partnerships, allyship, baby.
Exactly. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We will catch you in 2 weeks. Take care.